the city of Rockhampton is known as the beef capital of Australia and the unofficial capital of Central Queensland. We're here to visit the annual Paradise Lagoon Campdraft.
Well, Graeme, mate, thanks for having us along here at Paradise Lagoon. First of all, we're going to have a lot of viewers that have never heard of a pretty iconic Australian sport of camp drafting. Can you run us through the basics of what a camp draft actually is?
Yeah, camp drafting is unique to Australia. It was developed in the late 1800s out on the big cattle stations in Western and Northern Australia when there was no fencing, when your cattle and my cattle all roamed together. And the terminology was you'd go out with all your men and your camp and you'd muster them all onto a big flat called the camp, and then you'd cut out your cattle one way and my cattle the other, your men. And that's how it originated in the early days of the settlement here in Australia.
Okay.
And it became that way when there was a competition between the stations and their men and their good camp horses that were cutting out. And that's how the sport got its name, camp drafting.
Fantastic. Now, in terms of camp drafting, this is, I've heard, the Melbourne Cup of camp drafting in Australia. Can you tell us a bit about your place and also where Paradise Lagoon sits in the calendar of camp drafting?
Well, I guess it is the largest livestock event in the world. We put through nearly 8,000 head of cattle over the 5 days and 1,800 head of horses. It's been built specifically for camp drafting, which a lot of the other venues around Australia haven't been built for. So, yeah, it's pretty unique.
And what sort of prize money pool is there at this event?
$400,000 in prize money this year.
Whoa! Is that a record?
That's a record for anywhere in Australia, yeah, and certainly a record for here as well for prize money, yeah.
Fantastic. Now, I have heard that there's a few pretty fancy rigs out there in the paddock behind us.
Yeah, no, there certainly is. You know, camp drafters today, in the early days we had a bloody swag and camp oven and a carbide light, camp out under a fly, but nowadays, you know, things have moved on, which they should, and there's a lot of big goosenecks, small ones, and people live in a bit more comfort than what we did 40 years ago.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for having us on board here, Graeme, and I look forward to getting into the camp drafting.